And then if anyone has a question at all during the presentation, just raise your hand and please wait for me or Ashley to hand you a microphone. This way, anybody watching live on the webcast, they'll be able to hear the question. I'm now excited to introduce to you Steve King. He is the senior illustrator and editor for the U-Haul SuperGraphic Program. Everyone welcome Steve.
All right, good crowd. Thank you, everybody. Welcome. This is pretty exciting. This is the first time we've ever done any kind of special event for the SuperGraphic program before. So welcome. Welcome to the first U-Haul Towers sneak peek of the Missouri graphic language of bats revealed. If anybody has any questions during the duration of this, feel free. Like Joanne said, my name is Steve King. I'm the graphic illustrator for the SuperGraphic program. I think I'll start out by telling you about the SuperGraphic program itself and how it starts. And then after I'm finished with my my spiel about the whole SuperGraphic program, I'm going to bring out Rob. Rob has a really great presentation for you today with his live bat presentation. It's very cool. So with that, I'll start by saying the SuperGraphic program had its first kickoff when U-Haul's chairman Joe Schoen once said the space on the side of the trucks could be sold to Madison Avenue, and we'd much rather give back to the community we serve. With that, the whole program took off and became a tribute to North America for the communities. And in 1988, that's right, sorry. In 1988, the SuperGraphic took off. What we now call the classic SuperGraphic series. It highlighted the obvious about subject matters for the states and the provinces. The program evolved and changed over time. In 1997, what we now call Venture Across America and Canada, which is more of a mystery revealed program where it's educational and thought-provoking. And the whole new program now is managed by a group of people throughout the whole U-Haul, through a bunch of U-Haul departments. And we kind of refer to this group as the SuperGraphic team. The SuperGraphic team gets together a couple of times a month, once a week, depends on what's going on. And we put together concepts. The research is probably the most intensive and hardest part about this program, because the program itself is all about finding obscure facts about a subject matter, which are actually a lot harder than you think. So we'll get together and we'll compile a bunch of information that we get from published reports and working very closely with scientists like Rob, and we utilize all that information to put together a concept. Once that concept has been brought to the table with the SuperGraphic team, we get together and narrow it down to one concept. That one concept comes to me, and then I start working on sketches, and still working with the scientists to make sure everything is accurate. And I'll bring the sketches to the SuperGraphic team. Again, process of elimination narrows it down to one sketch. That one sketch becomes the basis of the foundation of my SuperGraphic, which I start building on the computer. While I'm building it on the computer, I'm still working with the scientist, showing him how far I've gone, making sure I haven't put a whisker in the wrong, or 3 eyes on the bat or something, make sure everything's going okay. While this is going on, I'm also working with photographers and anyone else I can get reference from. Once I finish the graphic, I take it and I bring it to the SuperGraphic team. SuperGraphic team will critique my artwork. And you know when you're a kid and you did a drawing and you gave it to your mom and dad and they got excited and they put it on the refrigerator? Well, that's not going on. We're talking, these people are cruel, all right? They throw me under the carpet, they sweep it under, and it takes a few days. There's a lot of going back and forth, and once all the changes are made, the final graphic goes up to Joe Schoen. Joe Schoen approves it, and then the digital file is sent to our in-house printers in Pennsylvania. Once they have the file, they print the graphic on oversized vinyl with an adhesive backing on it. Pretty much it's a oversized decal. And then this oversized decal gets cut out, and there's hundreds of them. And they ship these out to our assembly plant. And there at the assembly plant, they apply the graphics to the side of the trucks. And then once that's done, they're sent out to fleet and they're ready for rental. While all this is going on, the SuperGraphic team is interviewing the scientists. We're compiling all this information together to make an educational write-up that we put on our website. The web team puts that together, puts it online. And then, of course, after this is all done, there is an unveiling that is organized. And it's set up at the state that the graphic represents. And the attendees include the scientists, state representatives, and of course the local media. And that's pretty much, in a very small nutshell, how the whole thing is put together. Before I turn this over to Rob, does anybody have any questions? David?
We have an online question.
Okay.
Are there any images hidden in the truck graphics?
Okay. Actually, all artists like to hide stuff in their artwork, and it is true. I'm just curious, by raise of hands, how many people are familiar with the fact that we do hide a little character inside the SuperGraphic? Okay. It's less than half. Okay, well, there is a little character that is hidden in the SuperGraphics. This is him. He's called Sammy U. He's an internal little character for U-Haul. Obviously, he's not this big. He's about the size of a dime or a little smaller, 1/4 inch high. And he is hidden in all the new SuperGraphics, the Venture Across America and Canada series. And the funny thing is, actually, I'm glad that question came up because I'm going to embarrass somebody that's here right now. I've been doing this for 15 years, and my daughter was 6 years old at the time, so she actually is the one who hides Sammy U for me. After I finish the graphic, I'll give her a printout, she'll circle it. Well, she's not 6 anymore, she's 21, she goes to the U of A, and she still does it to this day. So it's really fun. I won't point her out or anything because I don't want to embarrass her, you know, so. But anyway, she has a lot of fun with it, and I do too. With that, all of our SuperGraphics encourage the viewer to go online and learn more about. You can go to Twitter, you can go to Facebook, Google, Tumblr. Tumblr's a new one for me, never heard of that one before. Anyway, go online and learn more about echolocation, the communication of bats going back and forth, and actually we can learn a lot more from our special guest, TV personality, conservation biologist, Director of Organization for Bat Conservation, and one of the scientists that helped us a lot build this SuperGraphic, Rob Mies, everybody.
Thanks a lot. If you'd like to join our email list, you don't have to put your name, but if you just want to put your email there, we send out a couple times a month, we send out information about bats. So we're a nonprofit educational institution. And we'll switch over to my program now. Thanks, Steve. I'm really happy to be involved with this presentation and with this opportunity to educate people here at corporate headquarters, but also across the United States. So just about an hour ago, I got a text from somebody that is driving on I-75 through Georgia, and they saw one of the trucks with a bat on it, and they were just really excited, so they texted me. I don't know how they got my number, but because I don't know who it was, but I said, who is this? And then they sent their name back, and I don't know who that is, but that's all right. Is that what you hid? You hid that also? You hid that also in your artwork, my cell phone number? Okay, anyway, I'm the executive director and founder of the Organization for Bat Conservation. I travel all over the country teaching people about bats, but I'm also a biologist, so I study bats as well. We are partnering with Cranbrook Institute of Science in Michigan. That's where we're located, but we're also partnering with U-Haul, educating people around the country. And as a matter of fact, something really interesting this year is that it's the International Year of the Bat. The United Nations has declared 2012 that, and there are organizations and institutions all over the world who are helping people to understand how important bats are. So Steve and the SuperGraphics team had no idea that it was going to correspond with it, but it's actually a cool thing. So what we're going to talk about today is how bats, how important that they are here throughout the United States, how important bats are all over the world, and especially what I want you to understand is how unique bats are as well. So this is a super slow motion video of a straw-colored flying fox in flight. And you'll see one of these bats in just a minute. Love right there at the end, you can really see the wings. So bats are the only flying mammals, and so they are extremely unique. You are really lucky to be in this part of the country because there are large numbers of bats. When people ask me, you know, I travel all over, when people ask me where should I go to see bats, I say, well, you could go to Arizona, New Mexico, or Texas. So there was really some of the best places to see bats. Large numbers and large species diversity as well. So there's over 25 different kinds of bats here in Arizona. Why should we care? What do our bats around here eat? What do most bats in the United States eat? Yeah, they almost all eat insects. One bat by itself eats 2,000 to 6,000 insects a night. So bats are really important to help control moths and beetles, gnats, flies, and mosquitoes. Does anybody here like bananas? How about avocado? Guacamole? Do you like tequila? Anybody? Margaritas? Well, bats also pollinate and spread seeds of hundreds of species of plants all over the world. There are some plants that completely rely on bats for pollination, like agave is only pollinated by bats. They're also part of the food chain. Things like owls and hawks, eagles and snakes eat bats on a regular basis. Anybody here afraid of bats at all? In the front row. That was the only seat. Okay. All right.
You got here late, it's your fault.
Normally, it's the early ones that sit up front. Okay, well, I'm here for you. I'm not going to get them too close, all right? You know, there are a lot of people, and I think that's okay, you know, because these are things that we've been told all of our lives. These are things that we've seen in movies. Bats are scary to us. Well, this is Ellen DeGeneres. They're dressed up for Halloween. She's not afraid of the bats at all, but look at Jennifer Love Hewitt. She was terrified of the bats, and when I brought out the biggest bat in the world, she jumped up and ran and sat with the audience. She was so afraid of the bats. Well, sometimes it's just because people really don't know what bats are. So let's see what Conan O'Brien thinks about bats.
My next guest is a bat expert from the Organization of Bat Conservation at Cranbrook Institute of Science in Michigan. Please welcome Rob Mies and his bat friends. Let's do this. I'd shake your hand, but there's a rodent hanging from it. Yeah.
That's right.
Tell us first of all, what is this bat right here?
Not a rodent.
Not a rodent. Okay,
Yes.
Common misconception. I did that on purpose to teach America.
So it is a common misconception, but he didn't do it on purpose. He's a city guy. He had no idea what they were either. I did love his show because it wasn't scripted, and so everything was real. And so I've been on his show a couple of times, and he really does find everybody and everything really fascinating. So I had a great opportunity with that. Another thing that people might be afraid about, though, is that they think that they have a lot of diseases.
People associate bats with rabies. Now, is that a myth?
Not all bats have rabies, and I think that's the main myth that people think. Bats do not carry rabies. They get the disease and die like people would if they get the disease. But the main thing to do is to make sure that we don't handle wild animals. As long as we don't touch them, they would never bite us. They would never attack us.
So if you find a bat on the ground, though, the last thing you want to do is try to pick it up, because it will bite you to protect itself, but a bat's never going to be flying around and just land on us. There's a lot of myths, though, that I bet you have heard, and I did when I was a kid. They're not slimy and dirty. They're a lot like cats. They lick their thumbs and they clean their face. They groom their skin and their fur like cats. There's no bat in the world that's blind. Blind as a bat is not true. Bats don't need your hair for any reason. They're not going to build a nest. They're not confused by your hair. They're not going to land on your head. Vampire bats don't live in the United States. Vampire bats do exist. They're only,
3 species of vampire bats. They live in Central and South America. They do drink blood from animals, and it's almost entirely just cows now, primarily because there are so many cows throughout Central and South America. All right, and very few bats ever get diseases. Like I said before, if you see a bat on the ground, it'll bite to protect itself. That's the only way rabies and other diseases can be transmitted. So don't pick up a wild bat, don't pick up a raccoon or a stray dog or cat. So scientists a couple hundred years ago even were confused. So don't feel bad, because scientists used to classify bats as birds with fur. Now we know bats are mammals, and they're the only mammals in the world that can fly. How many babies do you think a mom bat has every year? Do you think she has 1, 10, or 20? It's usually 1. 1 baby once a year, sometimes twins, just like people. How long do you think bats live? You think they live about 5 years, 30 years, or 100 years? 30. Did you already see the webcast? No. You've just been watching all day? When do they work? They don't let us. All right, so that's right, about 30 years. This is really odd because, you know, we all used to think bats were mice with wings. Well, mice reproduce a lot, and they don't live very long. Well, bats live a long time. You usually have 1 baby once a year. They're really good moms. They nurse their babies. They teach them how to fly, where to go for the winter, how to catch food, and how to avoid being caught by a predator. So we put bats in their own scientific group. And if you take a look at a bat's wing, it's actually a lot like our hand. We don't classify them as rodents. We don't classify them as primates, but they are called chiroptera. And that means hand wing. When you take a look at the bat's wing, it looks a lot like our hand with these 4 long fingers. In between each one of the fingers is very thin skin. They also have a thumb that sticks out away from their body. They use that to hold on to things, to also crawl around, and to hold on to their baby and even groom themselves. A bat that has a tail often has skin that goes to the end of their tail, and if they miss the insect as they're flying, so most bats catch insects in flight, if they miss the insect with their mouth, they'll scoop it with their wing or their tail membrane. There's over 1,200 species of bats worldwide. We can break them up into 2 groups. There are the small bats with small eyes and big ears, just like our SuperGraphics bat. This is a red bat. It's a great illustration of a beautiful bat. These are tiny little eyes, huge ears. I think of them like a satellite dish, huge ears. And they could hear their little echolocation calls. So they give off a sound, it bounces back, and they know where things are. On the other hand, megabats, big eyes, a dog-like face. You often hear them called flying fox bats. They're not related to foxes. They just look a little bit like a dog. There's really weird-looking bats in the world. There are bats called mustache bats and wrinkle-faced bats, ghost-faced bats. There's bats with mohawks and big white puffs on their shoulders. This one lives here in Arizona. It's called a spotted bat. Its ears are so long that they can hear the footsteps of insects walking around on the ground. All right, so there are bats that are endangered, nearly extinct all over the world and here throughout the United States. Why do you think some bats might be endangered? Who has a guess? People are afraid of them. That is a big problem for bats. Their environment, their habitat. So that we have a lot less bats around now. We also have a lot more pollution. The more pesticides that are sprayed, things like birds, amphibians, and bats are really affected by that. People especially used to hate bats, and they would kill bats. They'd go into caves. They weren't protected. They are protected now, but they go into caves and they would light them on fire, or they would actually hit them with a hammer as they were hibernating. This is even just 2 years ago. A group of college kids did that. I think it was in Kentucky. They actually went to jail. So they're protected now. And then there's this fungus that's been affecting bats. If you haven't heard about this, first off, you're lucky because we're hoping it doesn't come to the southern part of the United States. But white nose syndrome is a fungus that we started seeing about 5 years ago in New York. And what happens is the fungus grows on the bats, on their wings and on their nose and on their ears, basically on their skin. And it wakes the bats up too many times during the winter. They use up too much body fat and they starve through the winter. It has spread from 1 state to 16 states, as far west as Oklahoma, as far south as Tennessee, and just recently estimated over 5 million bats have died so far.
Here's the biggest problem. Bats are the primary predators of nighttime insects. Beetles and moths, which destroy crops and forests, are flying at night primarily. So that's the big thing is that they could actually destroy a lot of our forests. Without bats there, we'll have to spray a lot more pesticides. Well, all right, so what can we do? There are things, though, that we can do, and I love it here at U-Haul because you have, not only do you have recycling bins, you use them. So I'm so glad to see that. The less natural resources we are taking from the wild, obviously there's more places for them. Protecting places. Carlsbad Caverns is a national park. It'll always be protected. It's a huge colony. But also, there's a lot of caves and mines on private property that have been protected with these gates. So the bats can come and go out of it, but people don't end up getting hurt. Any garden is great for bats. So if you've got a vegetable garden or a wildlife garden, the bats will like it because the moths and beetles come at night. Also, you could attract bats or give them an alternative by putting up a bat house. So if you know bats are roosting on the outside of your house or inside the house, you can give them somewhere else to go. So this is what a bat house looks like. Look at how small this space is. Only about 3/4 of an inch, and that keeps bats protected from predators. You want to put it up on a pole or the side of a building. A lot of times on the peak of a garage or the side of a chimney. You can look up on the inside during the morning to see, with a flashlight to see if they're up in there, or you could also wait and see them at dusk. So bats fly out at about 15 minutes after sunset. The best places to see them foraging around are usually water or streetlights because that's where the insects are found. The best thing all of us, though, can do to help bats out is to teach people, one, that they eat a lot of insects. Two, they eat tons of crop pests here in the United States. Three, that bats are endangered here in the United States, and we need to do something to help them out. So those are really the key things here in the United States that we need to make sure that we help with. Also, though, bats pollinate and spread seeds. So not here in the United States, but in the tropics. So make sure people understand how important that they are. Who here has questions? And Ashley and Joanne have a microphone. So if you have a question, raise your hand and they'll hand you a microphone. Does anybody have a question yet? Oh, we have one online. Go ahead.
We have an online question from Lori who asks, if I put up a bat house in my yard, would they be bothered by my 2 dogs who are kept inside at night?
Okay, and they wouldn't even be, Lori, they wouldn't even be affected by your dogs if they were outside all the time either. So a bat house really is a easy way to protect the bats, keep them living outside. But so the bats are really tolerant also of people. You know, I've traveled all across the United States and seen bats from downtown Manhattan, Chicago to forests and farms. So bats do live almost everywhere. Other questions? Yeah. Ashley?
Oh, thanks, Rob.
Sure.
Sorry to see something.
Approximately how many bats can fit in that bat house?
Oh, that's a question for you then. How many bats? The first bat I'll show you, you haven't seen yet, but you'll understand why in a minute. How many bats do you think could fit in here? 50, 10? I've seen almost 100. So 100 bats eating up to 5,000 insects a night.
Wow.
That's 500,000 insects a night that 100 bats would eat. Isn't that amazing? I mean, that's the kind of insect control that bats are providing for us. Thanks. Okay, well, we're going to start showing you some bats. Ava and I brought 4 different species with us from the Organization for Bat Conservation. We have special permits that allow us to be able to keep bats and to use them for educational purposes. It's against the law to have bats as pets. They're still wild animals, and I'm handling them with gloves on. But these are injured bats. So when you see them, these are bats that I've worked with for many years, and I've been trained. They have not. What I've learned is how to handle the bats. Every individual has its own personality. This right here is called a big brown bat. And most bats in the United States are smaller than this bat. And right now the bat's actually shivering, and it's bringing himself out of what we call torpor. So it got a little cool, it kind of dropped its body temperature down, and this is actually what they would do even when they're hibernating. And then they're bringing their body temperature up, and he's getting his blood flowing. Now you're going to see this especially with microbats, the small bats that live in temperate places. Microbats have tiny little eyes and they have huge ears. So this is a bat that uses echolocation. Just like on the SuperGraphic, that red bat is about this size. This is the kinds of bats that we have around here. They live to be about 20 years old. They usually have 1 or 2 babies. Now he might even start to echolocate. So Ava just turned on an electronic ultrasonic detector. We call it a bat detector. It probably should be like an echolocator or something better like that. But so it doesn't really pick up the bat, but it picks up the ultrasonic sounds. So this species echolocates at about 35 kilohertz. We only hear up to about 18 to 20 kilohertz. So if I move the bat around a little bit, let's see if he's woken up enough. So those clicking sounds that you're hearing right now is the bat echolocating. So the bat is making sounds with their vocal cords. It's such a high pitch, though, we as humans can't hear it, but this bat detector or this electronic device can. So what I'll do is I'm going to bring in an insect. This is a mealworm.
Oh, so sleepy.
By the way, your husband really enjoys mealworms. I just want you to know. Okay, Steve King. We'll be preparing mealworms later. Okay, so all right, so we're bringing this mealworm in, and it flies by the bat. And you see the bat's echolocation sped up. And now we give the bat. And now that sound is a bat crunching on a mealworm. You've all had lunch? Okay. Tiny little eyes, huge ears, uses echolocation. Microbats live all over the world. The smallest bat in the world is called the hognose bat, and it's from Thailand. And it only weighs about 2 grams, which is as much as a dime. This bat weighs 20 grams. This is much larger than a lot of other bats. I know that it looks really small, but I just want you to understand, this is actually a pretty big bat.
So when bats...
Oh, go ahead.
When bats are making that real scary face that they're so notorious for being shown doing, they're usually echolocating. It kind of looks like Joe Pesci, all angry. That's all they're doing.
They look a lot like a mouse, you know, with wings, and I can understand why we used to think that they were mice with wings, but yeah, and they're mammals, so I think we can relate a bit to them. All right, so I'm showing you a microbat. There are around 800 species of microbats worldwide. Ava's going to bring out a megabat. Megabats are the bats with large eyes, a larger body. There's about 400 different species of megabats. So this is a megabat that she's going to bring around.
So this is Congo. He's a straw-colored fruit bat. He eats exclusively fruit. He's the largest bat found on the continent of Africa. They can fly up to 1,000 miles to migrate for food. Big eyes. Small, he does, doesn't he? Smaller ears in relationship to the size of his body. Congo's 15-ish?
Yeah, I think he's going to be 17 this year. So, you know, the tropical bats usually live to be around 20 to 25 years old. The temperate bats could actually live a lot longer. They're the ones living maybe even 30 to 40 years old.
They found one not that long ago, right? Like a few years ago that was 52.
Right.
What's interesting about bats, too, is that they don't show any signs of age.
The way that we know that these bats, they've been born in captivity. So Congo was born at a zoo, and so zoos transfer injured or orphaned animals to us. In the wild, we have to tag bats and then hopefully recapture them again. So you might tag 1,000 bats and recapture 2 eventually, but that's how we track them in the wild.
Isn't he sweet?
Can you eat them?
Can you eat them? Yeah.
They are eaten
In
across the
Africa,
world.
yeah, in Africa and Asia, they do eat bats. I have a friend of mine that studies the Malayan flying fox, the biggest bat in the world, and he grew up eating them. He said they taste like chicken. I know. Then just eat chicken, right? All right, the next bat I'm going to bring out is an endangered species. I think it's one of the most beautiful bats in the world.
Want to go up, buddy?
His name is Angus. Angus is called a Rodrigues fruit bat. He's also called a golden bat. On the island of Rodrigues, he's got this really beautiful golden color. And when they hang from the trees, and you can see this gold from down below, they look like little balls of gold hanging from the trees. It, at one point, was the most endangered mammal in the world. There was about 75 of them left on the one island. That's a big stretch. Yeah, he was just wrapped up. So he had his wings all wrapped up around him. So, he just had a really good stretch right there. His wings were injured about 3 years ago at the Philadelphia Zoo when he was about 12 years old. He's around 15 right now. He was transferred to us because his wings were injured and he's not able to fly anymore. He really needs to have extra care and especially be able to easily get to the food. Where in zoos, they're flighted bats, so they really they were out competing Angus, and he wasn't able to get to the food. He's got a really fluffy fur versus with Congo, with that short fur from Africa. This is a much fluffier bat.
Oh, I hear somebody clamoring to get out.
The light doesn't affect the bats. The reason that bats avoid light in general is because that's where predators could see them better. But it doesn't really hurt them at all. And these large tropical bats will hang up in live trees. So really, they're out in the daylight all the time.
Bless you. So this is Camilla. She's a Malayan flying fox. She's found in Southeast Asia. She has allergies if you heard her sneeze. She can have up to a 6-foot wingspan.
I can see. Look at her, just as long as she stays in her chair.
She looks like an umbrella all folded up, doesn't she?
She's pretty, but she can stay. Oh, no, she's quivering too.
Their hearts beat, they metabolize a lot faster than we do. So at rest, their hearts beat from 300 to 400 beats per minute. In flight, up to 1,000.
Is she peeing?
Oh, no, I think her nosy's drippy.
Oh. Yeah, the pollen, I think, is starting to get
her
to her.
eyes get all puffy. She has to have Benadryl occasionally.
Her eyes aren't puffy enough yet to give her anything, but she was sneezing last night, too.
What is she allergic to? I guess it's pollen season here.
Yes.
Bless you.
Angus was hand-raised by keepers at the Philadelphia Zoo. Camilla was born at a zoo in Florida about 18 years ago, and she hurt her wing when she was only about a month old. And so she has never flown. She's been with us for about the last 12 years. Congo, what are you thinking, buddy?
They are exclusively
well, they still
they
still exercise and need that mobility still. No, they really don't. The biggest thing that you might get is you might get a bat that'll turn around and see he just showed his mouth, and that's about the extent of the fight. Otherwise, like Angus just kind of took his thumb and put it on the bat. That's actually another way of like, don't show me your mouth is basically what he said. But he put his thumb on him like, I'm bigger than you, and don't show me your mouth again. Come here.
So someone asked in the back how you can tell if they're male or female, and Congo's a great opportunity to clear that up.
Yeah, he's leaning just the right way right there. So typically you can't tell a male or female by their color, but just like with birds, cardinals you can tell really easily from a male or female. This species you can because they have a brighter yellow color, but in general though, we just look for what mammal parts what private mammal parts that they have. I'm gonna get him to flap a little bit for us too. Are you ready, Congo? Ready to flap? Nope, let go. Ready? Flap. Okay, one more before you put you away. Ready? Flap. Good boy. Are there more questions?
Hey, why they hang upside down like that? Don't they blood rush to their head?
That's a great question. And these are really great observations that you're looking at here. One is, why are they hanging upside down? Or can they stand right side up? No, they can't stand right side up. Their hips are so thin, their bone mass in their pelvic girdle isn't great enough. Their bone mass is thin, and so they can't hold up their upper body. They have to hang upside down. The reason it doesn't affect their blood flow is that they don't weigh enough for gravity to have that negative effect on them. You know, we hang upside down, and I can't do it anymore as an adult. But as a kid, I used to love it. But you know, the blood kind of rushes to our head, and we'll eventually pass out. Well, bats don't do that because they just don't weigh enough. More questions?
Oh, question back there.
We have a question from Michael online. He asks, how many times a minute does a bat flap its wings? And what's the top airspeed and altitude a bat can reach?
Yeah, so asking the extremes. So I don't know how old you are, Michael, but you be the scientist to figure it out. So these are the kinds, I mean, these are great questions, but we don't really, it's hard to track a bat. We do know that some bats have been found at over 3,000 feet. So they actually do fly really high. Some bats have been tracked flying up to 50 miles per hour, and some small nectar-feeding bats are flapping their wings probably about as fast as a hummingbird does. So, so those are generalizations about the extremes, but that's tough to study. So I'd love someone else to get involved as well. More questions?
Branch? No.
She's
no interest
she's not
in this
digging
at
it, is
all.
it? The two boys are liking it. Maybe that's the thing. She's like, you know what?
Oh, big flap.
There we go.
There we go. How about another stretch? Oh, poor
Camilla's
thing.
got an amazing personality. You know, I've been working with her for over 12 years, and you can see even with Ava, she'll crawl right out. She doesn't mind being on us and being brought out. If we handed her to you, though, she wouldn't like that. She'd probably pee all over you.
Oh, I love that story. So we're getting ready for the trip, and there's an virtually identical Malayan flying fox that's a female that shares her cage. There's how many, 50 bats in that same cage, but the two are the largest. They're virtually the same. He was going in to get Camilla out, to pack her up to get ready to go, and Peggy Sue comes over and sees that Camilla doesn't really want to get out and aims right for Rob and pees all over him.
So it was, as we were getting ready, you know, I was packing the animals up and we were heading to the airport to come here. And so, you know, I'm working with Camilla right here, and Peggy comes over, and I figure she's just coming over to sniff me, and I've known her just as long. She comes over and just goes all over me, all over my hair, my face, my clothes. So I swing by to pick Ava up, and I'm like, I gotta go take a shower. So I had to grab another shower. I had to grab another shower, but yeah, they're buddies, and they're like, hey, where are you taking her? You know, the last thing is there's a table set up in the back, and you have some information about our organization already. You've got some great information from U-Haul about the SuperGraphics as well. If you're interested to learn more, I've written a book called Beginner's Guide to Bats, and it's a field guide to the bats of North America. There's a lot of great information in it. They're $10, and I can autograph them. We also have some bat buttons for $1 if anybody would like to get one. The money goes back into helping feed all of our animals. And we also do have some bat houses that I shipped here, too. So I'll be back there answering questions. Thank you so much. Have an awesome weekend.